Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. It's Star Trek weekend in New York. They're celebrating the 50th anniversary with a Star Trek convention. What better time to release this conversation I just had Tuesday with IDW Sarah Gaydos, the editor, and Mike Johnson, the writer of the Star Trek Kelvin Universe stories. They just wrapped up their initial run on the Kelvin Universe with Star Trek 59 and 60. Great stories, really fun story, not only involving the Kelvin Universe crew of the Enterprise, but also the original series. I don't want to give anything away if you haven't had a chance to read these great issues. Good news, they're going to continue. It's just a good point to start off with a new number one, as comic book companies want to do. And they've got in October the new series Star Trek Boldly Go, which continues the adventures of the Kelvin universe, the J.J. Abrams movie team. And Mike Johnson will continue to write that. We talk about that with Mike and Sarah. We also talk a bit about the history of Star Trek comics, going back to the years of Gold Key comics. I remember those, loved those as a kid, and find them fascinating as an adult, frankly. IDW not only is printing new Star Trek material, and by the way, excellent Star Trek material if you're not reading it, but also, occasionally does release reprints of the old stuff. I read the Marvel years when they did, and I can't remember the name of the series, but it was the Captain Pike series, unfortunately canceled before they could finish the story. I think it was only like 19 issues long, but got a couple full, Captain Pike adventures in there, and number one and that original Enterprise crew. So that was kind of fun. And also they've been reprinting all the DC movie specials and various graphic novels and some old runs and stuff. So you really have to check out IDW's comics. And it's really cool to hear that they, of course, are very warmly welcomed at Star Trek conventions. We talked about that. They've recently been in Vegas for the big celebration that happened just a couple weeks ago. And again, the celebration continues this weekend in New York. They're going to be at New York Comic Con as well, I think, with a couple new announcements. But we really touch on a lot. John Byrne, if you don't know, has been writing exceptional and drawing exceptional Star Trek comics, and even does a really fun thing, taking the photographs of the original series, manipulating them, and making new original series Star Trek adventures. Those are fantastic, and I can't recommend them enough. So, really fun conversation with Sarah and Mike on this episode of Word Balloon, brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you very much, League, for your support. I truly do appreciate it. Through Patreon, it's a choice. You don't have to subscribe to Word Balloon. It's free. But if you want to help out the cause and help me get to various conventions and the like, you can do that by going to wordballoon.com, clicking on the Patreon ad there on the front page, or going to patreon.com/wordballoon. If you can spare $1 a month, if you think the hours of conversation that I present here on Word Balloon are worth something, think about it. The price of a comic book hopefully, gives you about 15 minutes of entertainment. Well, I try to do, at least 8 to 12 hours of Word Balloon conversation each month. And, I think it adds to the comic book enjoyment experience. I hope you feel the same way. But the League of Word Balloon listeners whose ranks continue to expand each month, I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support. Word Balloon is also brought to you by In-Stock Trades at InStockTrades.com. There are great deals happening at In-Stock Trades, and I thought I would check specifically on some of the Star Trek product that Mike Johnson has written over the years. And good news, can't be denied, there's some really great stuff. There's Star Trek Countdown, which was the prequel to the J.J. Abrams event, kind of explains what happened with the bad guy Nero, the Romulans, and Mr. Spock, leading up to the new adventures in the alternate universe. Countdown is 30% off. It's just $12.59. You can get Star Trek Khan, which goes through the origin of, the Benedict Cumberbatch version of Khan. He's no Montalban, but he is the Cumberbatch, and I think he's a pretty cool dude. Check that out. It is 30% off, and it's just $13.99. They also have every volume of Star Trek Ongoing. That's what they call the Kelvin Universe coverage that Mike writes with various artists, but we're talking about trades from Volume 1 through, at least I believe, Volume 8, and they range in price from $12.59 to $13.99. That's some of the great stuff you can find Star Trek-wise with Mike Johnson's name on it. How about John Byrne? I'm going to put John Byrne in and see what we come up with. Hang on one second here. We've got the John Byrne Star Trek Collection trade paperback that includes spotlight issues on Romulans, Assignment Earth, Balance of Terror, The Hollow Crown, Leonard McCoy, Frontier Doctor, one of my favorite miniseries that they did. That is 30% off, $24.49. You can also get the hardback edition of that for $34.99. So here we go. Star Trek New Visions. You can get volumes 2 and 3. Those are those photo comic things where Byrne takes the photographs from the original series and creates absolutely new Star Trek stories. They're fantastic, really. I can't recommend them enough because it really is the original series. It's the photographs. It's the crew. It's Kirk. It's Shatner. It's Nimoy in completely new stories conceived by John Byrne. He is obviously a massive Star Trek fan. In fact, he's at this New York convention this weekend. These books are 30% off, and they're each $13.99 for volumes 2 and volume 3. It doesn't matter if you don't read volume 1 or not because each story is self-contained. Great stuff from IDW, Star Trek, and a good deal at InStockTrade.com. Check it out for yourself at InStockTrades.com. Okay, 2 things. First, I want to tell you, next weekend, the weekend of September 11th, the 9th through the 11th, I will be at Cincy Comic-Con. Tony and Kara Moore's excellent show. I'm always happy to come back and do panels and hang out. But, man, I cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic. A great slate of not only great creators like Mark Waid, Brian Azzarello. In fact, the entire 100 Bullets team is going to be there. Kate Leth is going to be there. The Revival team is going to be there. Mike Norton, Tim Seeley, Jenny Frizen. Go to CincyComicCon.com and check out the lineup of everyone who's going to be there. But in addition to that, they've got a really fun art auction show. And I know that you've been to art auction shows at past conventions. Sometimes they can get a little dry if you're really not a serious art collector. Well, they're going to have a blast because there's going to be music and a bar, and also games are going to be played. People will be winning auction prizes just through, getting a ticket to the auction and showing up. I mean, you can also bid on amazing original art. They've got incredible artists that are going to be there. I honestly, I cannot wait for Cincy Comic-Con. But it's going to be a lot of fun next weekend. So if you're in that Covington, Kentucky / Cincinnati area, if it's within driving distance and you have no plans for next weekend, I'm telling you, it's a great con because it's comic book, centric. There are, there's Lego stuff there, and listen, there's nothing wrong with, obviously TV and movie celebrities. Everybody enjoys that. But if you really want a great, nice, relaxing comic book convention where you've got space to walk around, you've got time to talk to the writers and artists. Marty Pasco's going to be there. Can't wait for that. He and I are going to do a spotlight conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I enjoy it every year. I have to miss great conventions like Dragon Con in Baltimore because of Cincy Comic-Con, and I'm okay with that because they get a great slate of guests. I get to do a lot of panels, which I end up presenting here on Word Balloon, and it's just a really fun time. So I hope you'll join me out there for Cincy Comic-Con. Check it out and go to the website, CincyComicCon.com, for all the information. All right, before we start our conversation with Sarah and Mike, I have to confess that we did this call through a conference call, kind of three-way conversation. It isn't a full-fledged Skype call because I had a kind of time crunch, and they could only do it at a certain time, and I was only available at a certain time. So they're on the phone lines, and I wish it was a little bit better. You can understand them, and it's a great conversation, but it's not, I have to admit, it's not an A-list kind of phone connection, but they have great stories. I promise I will be happy to talk to them again because I think they're very interesting, and I truly love what IDW is doing with the Star Trek franchise. And I've said that I've kind of had my certain problems with the Kelvin universe, and I even confessed them to Mike and Sarah. What's great? Mike's Comics, and I tell him this, and I mean it, Every problem I have with Zachary Quinto, and if you've been listening last month, we've done a lot of Word Balloon Star Trek podcasts, but they seem to go away in the comics because Mike, to me, portrays a much more clearer Vulcan sort of Mr. Spock in the Kelvin universe than what we get in the movies. Mike actually has a very smart explanation of why we get some more extreme emotional Spock scenes in the films, and it actually made sense to me. So he actually talked me down off the ledge when it comes to my frustrations with the Star Trek movies that we've been currently getting. But tremendous conversation. Really happy to present it now. Sarah Gaydos, Mike Johnson, and me talking about Star Trek comics on Word Balloon. Well, I'm happy to welcome Mike Johnson and Sarah Gaydos to Word Balloon. They are part of the Star Trek team at IDW. Sarah, the fine editor, and Mike is really the top writer. Welcome, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on Word Balloon.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on. I should ask you both, how did you get your respective Star Trek jobs? Sarah, let's start with you.
Sure. So I've been at IDW a bit over 3 years now. And when I came over, I was looking at DC and Wildstorm before. In the interview process, they asked me if I was a Star Trek fan, and we talked about that for a bit. So really taking over the book from Scott Dunbier, who was editing before, was a bit of a dream come true. And then life definitely got easier once Mike and I started to kind of get to know each other and work together. Mike pretty much writes all the the Kelvin universe stuff, and I'll let him tell you how he got involved.
Yeah, well, in a previous life, I was a Hollywood minion. I worked in film development, and I was working for the writers, producers, Alex Kurtzman and Bob Orsi, who are the writers and producers of the first two of the new Star Trek movies, and there was this idea that we would do a prequel comic book series, and I had actually started writing comics with their encouragement outside of my day job, and when Star Trek opportunity came up, they said, you should do it. So we started in 2000, I think late 2008, or actually mid-2008, before the movie came out, we started working on the Countdown miniseries. That, and pretty much been ever since then, working in the 23rd century.
Well, that's great, man. And no, congratulations, because really, I've enjoyed a lot of the Kelvin Universe stories. I've enjoyed the spin on the 5-year mission and the retelling of some of the classic stories with a Kelvin twist.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much. It's been a real blast to do.
And also the last two issues that kind of cap things off. Can you explain what's going on with that, Sarah? I know that there's a new series starting up, but was there a reason to end it at 60?
Yeah, honestly, so 60 is obviously a nice round number. And after the Beyond film came out, we just thought it might be a good time to kind of put a new number one out. To kind of remind people that maybe haven't been paying attention to the ongoing series that we're here, we're doing really fun and exciting stuff, and now's a great time to jump on. So the new number one, which comes out in October, definitely kind of, it's definitely not a reboot. It's not like the previous stories don't count or anything like that. It's just kind of a nice reinvigoration, maybe.
Sure.
If that's the correct term, of the title. And it's a really nice opportunity that beyond, Mike and I really enjoyed the movie a lot, and so it gave us a chance to kind of reflect where we were and kind of take it in a bit of a new direction with our Tony Chastain, who's been kind of our Trek guy for the past, how many issues now of the ongoing series?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you were asking Mike.
Yeah, no. I
Okay.
can't even, it's just so many issues at this point. He's such a great artist, and he's our rock.
I understand, and I would agree. I think he does a great job. J.K. Woodward does an exceptional job as well. He's an old friend, and I've loved I love the times that he's been able to do some of the special projects. Is there any? It's interesting because I just heard Dayton Ward on the CBS official Star Trek podcast, and they were talking about the novels. And the host asked if, what he can do and what he can't do. And he said, really, it was more interesting that CBS and Paramount would encourage him to go in certain directions. And Mike and Sarah, I wonder both, and first, Mike, you answer, what would you say the parameters are? And is there any sort of where we'd like you to go in the direction of those kinds of directions?
Yeah, well, we've got great partners, John Van Sitters at CBS and Rita Kessler with Paramount, and together, the four of us, and then Tony most recently, and for the longest time, we've got this really tight group, and having worked together with this group for 2 years and even longer with John and Lisa, I think there's a level of trust that's developed where they know I'm not going to do anything too out of the box, too out of sort of what works for Star Trek. There's just because something's sci-fi doesn't mean it'll be a good Star Trek story. So I think we've kind of together, and then when Sarah came on, we were really all in sync about what makes a good Star Trek story. So I proposed stories, and they're definitely not shy, and I'm glad about coming back and saying, maybe tweak this or that. I think the sort of one rule that I try to stick to is that we try to stick to the original series concepts and characters, unless there's a real explanation for, or it makes for a really good story. Like, we were able to use Q because it made sense that Q would want to come and play around in this new timeline. And then able to introduce DS9 characters that way because we were showing a version of DS9 characters. We weren't just telling a DS9 story. So the idea is to keep it sort of TOS-centric and let the other, eras of Star Trek, like TNG and DS9 Enterprise, for those main casts, let their stories be told in other areas and keep our comic book TOS-centric, like the movies themselves.
Okay. And so, have you done any non-Kelvin stories yet, Mike?
I have not. I'm really kind of the Kelvin timeline guy at IDW, and Scott and David Tipton are really the original timeline
Got it.
guys.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
And Sarah, outside of like what you can't do, is there, obviously, I think not involving the Kelvin universe, the fact where things are left when Spock creates the black hole that destroys Romulus and everything, that seems like that's a great opportunity for the future. Is IDW able to tell stories, from that standpoint beyond in the original universe?
I would say that we're pretty much, pending approval, we're able to play in the sandbox where we want to.
Okay.
And in a way, that is really challenging because literally I could try and talk them into canceling all other IDW books and let me just do like 50 Star Trek books. But that might be too many. So what I try and do is kind of look at the Star Trek line as maybe going up to the top of maybe 4 issues a month. And, what's current in the market right now, what Beyond just happened. We've got the 50th anniversary. Crossovers are really hot right now. And kind of look for a way to pick and choose the best material to kind of get the most bang for the buck. And people ask me all the time, like, well, where's my Voyager ongoing series, or where's my Enterprise mini? And frankly, I would need to clone myself and the licensors and everyone to be able to do that. So that's kind of how the series Waypoint came into being.
Sure.
Which is, my anthology series that's coming out in September. And obviously the Kelvin timeline is so well represented with the books that Mike is working on, including, the ongoing and Boldly Go and Star Trek Green Lantern. So Waypoint is a place for us to do stories that are not Kelvin timeline at all. So anything from a Gold Key tribute that Dayton is actually writing for me right now, all the way through to DS9 Enterprise animated series, the whole thing. So that's kind of a way to acknowledge some of the other Trek series and keep it fresh for everybody.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new anthology series. I think that's great, and it's a good opportunity, to stretch out and appreciate all Trek. Do you guys get in your in LA? There's Me TV, and then it has a sister station called Heroes and Icons.
I don't.
Okay, well they started actually just a couple months ago running all 5 Star Trek television series, and they do,
nice.
and it's ridiculous, but it's great. And it just kind of is. It's a nice new reappreciation. I mean, I've been able to watch them on Netflix and stuff like that, but it's just kind of nice to know that it's on TV when you walk home. And yeah, it just kind of gave me a new reappreciation for Voyager and and Enterprise, because I think as things kind of went on television wise, it's kind of tough. I mean, my God, they produced over 700 hours of television. Kind of tough to keep coming up with fresh ideas within a certain template. And Mike, I don't know, from a Kelvin standpoint, and 60 issues in, plus Star Trek Countdown, and some of these other Kelvin tie-ins and crossovers like the Green Lantern series. I mean, are you still bursting with stories?
Yeah, there's still stuff. There's things I really want to get into, and the train is going, and you're laying track to just get the monthly book out. But I'd love to do more with kind of the lower decks view of what it's like to serve. It's a good story about that, and different sort of kind of sci-fi concepts I'd like to play with in the Trek realm. We've been lucky in having in the Kelvin timeline, because we are able to just to not only tell new stories but also have fun reimagining how old episodes might play out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some other old episodes. I don't want to name them because I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a couple other old episodes I'd like to see the Planet Of The Apes crew interact with. So
very cool.
It's been great. Yeah,
that's great. Honestly, and maybe because I don't, the actors aren't in my head even though I'm seeing them in the art. When you write a Kelvin universe story, it's I don't know, it feels a little more genuine, and I don't mean that as a slight to all the actors. The one problem and here's my nerd moment, but I don't know how you feel in terms of writing it, or Sarah, you editing it. But I really, the choice, and I understand that it's part of the story, but the choice to give Spock emotions in the Kelvin universe, I really think diminishes the character in some ways. I didn't feel that way when I read your stories, but I have to say when I watch the films, he feels less like Spock because of that. And I know that there's different circumstances, and it's all laid out why he is different, and it's good that he is different. It's a Jason Todd Robin thing to me, if I can put it in comic book terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I think part of that is obviously the movies are going to highlight the sort of key emotional points in all the character stories,
sure,
right? So
sure.
you're going to see them at those points. And I think it's to your point. I definitely do try to write him more Vulcan than he's appeared in the movies, because it's, in a way, the comic is sort of TV show version of it. It's day to day. Here's what's happening on the ship.
Sure.
Whereas the movies are like, oh my gosh, here's the most dramatic thing that, like, we're not going to kill Kirk and bring him back in the comics. He's not.
Right, that's a good point. Sure, absolutely.
So I think, and also for having Quinto giving him something to play. And I will say, let's check him beyond. We talked about a little emotional. I chalk it up to he loves Bob. He loves him that much. But he's able to pierce him and Vulcan himself. But no, it's great, and I've been lucky. I was so excited about Beyond because my writing is inspired by the performances of these actors, and to get I've seen the first and second movie so many times, and I love the show. But to get a third movie, it's like, it's some like reference for an artist, but it's for the writing, how the characters sound and speak, distinct from their original series counterparts. So I can't wait for Beyond to come out on video. So I can see.
Yeah, and I think they really have kind of grown into their roles.
Agreed.
Too, almost like spurred into them. So I really, really appreciated that point. And then new characters like Baylor were just kind of a breath of fresh air. So Mike, in some ways, is lucky because he gets 20 pages a month, while the movie people get, 2 hours every couple of years. So Mike is able to really kind of dive down and tell some more personal stories, put them in kind of stranger situations, put them in areas where there's, maybe not an easy answer. Maybe things are a little bit more nuanced. So I think that's why people, if they're fans of the movies, or even if they have a passing interest in one of the Trek TV shows, should check out the comic, because we get a special space in Star Trek to be able to tell these kind of more deeper stories every month.
And you guys are getting ready to go to the convention that's happening in New York this Labor Day weekend. So how many Trek conventions have you guys done so far?
I just did Vegas, which was about a month ago.
Yeah.
And so then I'm going to this one, so that'll be 2 Trek conventions for this year, which is a lot for us. Vegas is there every year. But since this is the big 50th anniversary year, I'm really glad that we can also have a presence at New York. We'll have a booth. We'll be doing signings. Mike will be there. Artist Derek Charm, who is our artist on the Wonderful Academy series, will be there.
Terrific.
And of course, some guy named John Byrne will be there too.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Wow.
So he will be there. Chris Ryle, my boss.
Sure.
John's editor will be there as well, and he'll be signing his Trek works, and he'll also be on the panel.
Okay, Mike, you're not going?
Oh,
yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, we have a special Star Trek Comics panel. I believe it's Friday at 6:45 p.m.
Oh, very cool.
That is perfect.
Big announcement coming?
Sorry?
Big announcement coming? Comic-wise?
We'll be announcing stuff. And also, it's a really nice time, because it's the 50th anniversary, and basically Star Trek comics have been around almost since day one, and in some countries before the show even existed on TV. I'm going to talk a little bit about just the history of Trek comics.
Oh, that's great.
There's so much of it, and it's a nice way to kind of honor that in this big anniversary year as well.
That's fantastic. I'm sadly old enough to remember the Gold Key Star Trek comics from the 70s. And I know they predate me, and I'm sure they were coming out even in the 60s. But my God, some of the painted covers, and that was always the case with Gold Key, taking nothing away from the interiors. But my God, some of those painted things, the imagination really, just exploded beyond what they could do on television and, in syndication back then.
It was close enough to the pulp sci-fi covers of the 50s at that point.
Exactly.
That sort of spirit still pervaded those covers. I love that logo, that old school logo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And great writers, great comic book writers. I know Len Wein was, getting started writing on the Gold Key comics. Am I right, Sarah?
That is right. He actually talked a little bit about it at my panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and just kind of talked about the history of it and how when he came on, the people that were working on it they knew Trek, but they didn't maybe know it as deeply as he did.
Mm-hmm.
And the Italian artist, this is way before the internet, so literally what he had available were some publicity headshots. So they were working from so little actual reference material that there's a lot of kind of weirdness in especially the early issues, like they're wearing backpacks and the nacelles of the Enterprise are like rockets, there's just fire coming out of it. But those very kind of sweet, interesting, weird elements are there, but there's also just some really great fun stories. So they're a real joy to look at.
That's cool. How about the comic strips? Did you get a chance to really look at when they were? As I remember, they were like movie tie-ins to the original, the first film. Am I right?
Yeah. So there's the UK strips.
Oh, that's right.
So the UK was one of the countries that got the strips before the show was even on the air. So for a lot of people, their very first exposure to Star Trek was actually in comic books. And IDW has a nice collection of those. And then the daily LA Times strips That's just a massive amount of material. And again, that was a lot closer, obviously, to being more official and I would say authentic to the show. And yeah, we have a nice collection of those as well. So there's so much Star Trek comics out there in the world. It's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. I want to say Marty Pasco wrote some of that comic strip stuff, right?
I think for the LA Times ones, yes.
Yeah. You know, and I think the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune, I think they had the same syndicator, because I think that's how I got him, being here in Chicago.
Gotcha. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. That's fantastic. Yeah, no, honestly, guys, I think you do a great job with the franchise, and honestly, that is the great thing now, because again, the Gold Key comics were kind of hit and miss, and they have a lot of charm because of that lack of information, which then inspired imagination to take the story and the images in ways that weren't conventional to the television series. But now you really do get people like yourselves that are really immersed in the DNA of Star Trek and really can present it in a great way. So I think that's fantastic. What can you tell us about what's coming in the Kelvin universe, Mike, without getting spoilery? Like you said, there's still 5-year mission stories that you'd like to tell. I mean, well, I guess three years of it on television, so there's still from those first 3 seasons. But any other directions you can tell us without spoiling?
Yeah, so we're actually going to set the series is called Boldly Go, and or Star Trek Boldly Go, and it's going to be set pretty soon after the end of Star Trek Beyond, but it's going to be set. So it's spoiler alert for people who haven't seen Star Trek Beyond yet. If you want to turn this down, turn it down, and I'm back. But at the end of the movie, you see this sort of fast forward of the Enterprise being rebuilt, and that obviously would take more than a year. So what we're doing is we're setting this series sort of just in the weeks and months after we last see Kirk and Spock looking up at the ship, and this series will show what they did and what they were up to while the Enterprise was being constructed.
Oh, fantastic!
So it's going to be a little odd. It's going to be a Star Trek series without the Enterprise in it. But that actually has opened up all sorts of interesting story possibilities because, when you're in Starfleet, they don't all just get to go on vacation while the ship's Starfleet wants to stop for turn working. So they get assigned to different places. So the first issue will show us catching up with the members of the crew and finding out where they are and what they're doing. Some of them are hanging out together, but for the most part, they're separated. And then the story in the first arc is a new threat to the Kelvin timeline, but it's a pretty iconic Star Trek threat that we're bringing into the Kelvin timeline, and it will bring our beloved characters back into each other's orbits.
And if you say any more, Mike,
I know, I can't really say anymore, but I will just say it's going to be a different kind of book. It's going to be the same characters that we love, but we're going to be seeing them on new ships and on different worlds, and in a way we haven't seen them before. So I'm having a lot of fun writing it, and I hope people have as much fun reading it.
That sounds great. It really.
And Mike is bringing in a lot of new characters to this too, because obviously, we see some of the same faces on the deck or the version of the Enterprise. So when you're on the different ships, there's going to be different folks around, and I think that kind of brings a new energy to it. Some human, some alien. You never know who might show up.
Oh, that's great. So maybe Kelvin versions of, kind of original series side characters?
Maybe. That's something that we've played with before. And, obviously we're going to concentrate on the relationships between these main characters because that's so much what makes Trek Trek. But a big thing, I think, to Mike and I, and obviously the licensed words and everyone who works on Trek, is that you're putting these characters in some pretty extreme situations, and the way they get out of them is by coming together as a team.
Sure.
And sometimes it's a team that knows each other. There's new people, and how does that affect things?
Gotcha.
And then, of course, sciencing their way out of the problem all together. So that's probably my favorite thing about Star Trek is those two, the teamwork and the science aspects of it coming together.
Very cool. No, that sounds great. I look forward to it. That's terrific. I want to know, I missed the Kelvin Deep Space Nine stuff that you guys did. What issues were those? I'm going to have to go back and get a trade or something like that covers that stuff.
Can't remember the exact issue numbers, but
I think it's volume 9.
Volume 9. It's called the Q Gambit, so it's the Q story.
Oh, cool.
I want to say it was like 36 to 40 or something.
Okay, well, I'll look up Q Gambit. I'm sure it's collected that way, right, Sarah?
Look up Q Gambit.
Yeah. So the trade is volume 9.
Okay.
I think it might be like 39 or something like that. And it's a 5-issue arc involving Q.
I can't remember.
The Kelvin universe.
Tony did an amazing job. I think it was Tony's first arc on the book, actually.
It was the first major arc. Yeah, it's probably, they're all my babies, but it's a really special one to me. I think it's something that any Star Trek fan or even someone who's just seen one issue of the movies can pick up. They don't need to know, what every episode Q was in. You can just pick it up and still enjoy it.
I'm with you. Very cool. Man, I got to tell you, back to John Byrne for a second. Boy, that guy loves Star Trek because, my God, some of his best work, I would say, in the last 10 or so years, however long he's been doing these IDW Trek books. I loved Leonard McCoy Frontier Doctor, the Gary Seven stuff, and also, I don't know, I forget what you guys call it, but the Fumetti, taking the actual, the stills from the television show and then making new stories. God, those were great. Yeah. What are those books called?
He calls them photo novels. I'm not sure if that's something he came up with or Chris came up with. Chris Ryle, my boss, edits him on those. And for those of you that might not be familiar with it, he basically goes through, high-quality screenshots of the original series show and basically creates brand new stories using those assets. So he might go through and find a Kirk face from an episode in season 1 to get across the emotion that he's trying to look for, but maybe it'll be the body from season 2. So he basically Frankensteins all these things together into entirely new stories. And I'll tell you, so when I was working the booth at Las Vegas, there were so many people that came up, and they weren't even really hardcore comic people, but they loved the hell out of these things.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Go on, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I guess, too, they were very of a certain age, were kind of very familiar with the idea of this thing, because back in the day, you would pick up an adaptation of a movie after you've seen it, kind of in this graphic novel, photo novel format.
Yep.
So it's kind of a natural extension of that, taking that idea but making entirely new stories out of it.
Yeah, I was, again, sadly old enough to remember. Yeah, they would adapt episodes, and they were fully done in that photo novel way. So it really doesn't surprise me. But that's a great way to introduce them to what IDW is doing, and hopefully, then they'll hopefully pick up a couple trades and enjoy the comics as well.
Absolutely. The first one's free kind of thing,
Sure.
So that's kind of how I was selling it to people, too. And people, the Star Trek fans are so loving to what we've been doing, and it's wonderful to get that feedback when we're at conventions.
Mike, any convention experiences that are purely Star Trek that you can relate?
Well, I've been a Star Trek fan my whole life, but I actually never went to a purely Star Trek convention until last summer. I went to Las Vegas last year.
Cool.
And it was probably my greatest convention experience ever, because there was such a feeling of inclusivity and optimism, and I think a lot of Comic-Cons, a lot of it's about promotion and merchandise and the selling of things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes the reason you're all there, just the love for the comics, can get lost in the noise. But at the Star Trek convention, everybody there it was more of a celebration than a marketplace. I mean, yeah, you could buy whatever triple trinket you wanted, but it was really about just celebrating the franchise show. I I couldn't go to Vegas this year. I was on a top secret away mission. I can't talk about it yet, but hopefully, I'm really looking forward to going to New York this week because for that same reason, that feeling of celebrating Trek, and for no better time to do it than in the 50th anniversary. So I'm hoping to go. I want to check out the Starfleet Academy experience at the Intrepid.
Yeah.
While I'm there, and just soak up all the good Trek vibes.
Did you guys ever get a chance while it was going on in Vegas to go to the Star Trek stuff at the Las Vegas Hilton while it was there?
Absolutely.
Atta girl.
Actually, one of my first Wildstorm Christmas parties was at Quark's Bar in Las Vegas.
Fantastic.
So, that's definitely a good memory.
Excellent. I used to go as well. I worked at a sports radio station, so I covered boxing, so that took me to Vegas all the time. And I would always make a point on Sunday afternoon before my flight back to go and have a meal and a drink at Quark's before I went back to the airport and flew back home. And what a trip! Hell yes, absolutely, man.
Yep.
Rocked out of my mind in Quark's Bar, and it's like, all right, this is pretty cool, and it felt authentic. It was pretty fun.
It sure did.
That's awesome. Oh man, yeah. This Academy experience. That's how far from Manhattan is that? Is it in Manhattan?
I'm not sure.
It's just it's at the Intrepid, the USS Intrepid, which.
Oh yes.
If I've got my geography right, is on the west side of Manhattan.
Yes. Forgive me, I forgot. Yeah, it's on or near the aircraft carrier, right?
Yeah, where Will Smith hit the golf balls up. That's how I just go to New York thinking about I Am Legend. That's how I orient myself.
That's fantastic.
In Washington Square.
Oh my God. So Sarah, like, have you guys met any of any cast members from any Star Trek iteration?
When I was in Vegas, I made a point to meet Nichelle Nichols because she's such an incredible inspiration to me. And I got my picture taken, and it was very special, and I kept it together, and I did not cry. So I was very proud of myself.
That's very cool.
And also at Vegas, Walter Koenig stopped by the booth, and we were able to show him some of the comics that he was in and gave him a couple copies. So those are my two most recent, and they were really, really special. And like Mike was saying, the vibe at Star Trek conventions is so different than a normal comic book convention. So I'll be at the table and I'll see, Q walk by or Data or whoever, and it's just the amazing feeling of like, yay, we're all in this together, high fives.
Hell yeah.
So, look forward to this week for sure.
Mike, have you met anyone?
I have. I actually worked on a movie back in my Hollywood Minion days. I worked on a movie called The Master of Disguise that Dana Carvey was in.
Certainly.
Star. It's this goofy little comedy. But Brent Spiner was the bad guy in the movie.
I forgot about that. Go on.
I hang out with Brent a little bit, and this was right before he was going off to shoot Nemesis.
Oh, wow.
He was going off to shoot Nemesis. So he was just really excited and started giving us little hints about what was going to happen in Nemesis, and because he was involved with the story for that, and it was great. He was hilarious. He was very cool. And other than that, you get to since my bosses were writing and producing the movie, I got to run around the set in 2009 and sit in the captain's chair. So that was cool.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Very cool. Wow, that's really great about Spiner, though. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's fantastic. I have to ask you, when you mentioned Walter Koenig, will we still see Anton Yelchin's Chekhov in the comics moving forward?
You'll definitely see him in issue number 1 of Boldly Go. We're not entirely sure what to do, to be quite honest. We want to be respectful. We want to be respectful to the family and everyone that's grieving. So we talked about it. Should he be there at all? And it felt worse to leave him out at all. So you'll definitely see him in issue number 1. I don't think he's going anywhere in the comic universe. And we'll just kind of see how it goes.
I understand. And, I felt this way too back in with Star Trek Generations, and I do understand those circumstances why they decided to kill off Kirk, and certainly with Nimoy's death, it was a nice tribute in the film. But by the same token, it is too bad because these characters are mythic and they really should never die.
Exactly. And Anton was, I thought he was so good and beyond, and was really coming into his own. I think it's different and it's harder when it's someone young and it's just like a horrible freak accident. So we'll just kind of see how it goes, and just try and take some time and digest it all and see what's right.
I understand. No, I get it. No, honestly, I envy you guys. I think it's got to be a lot of fun to have only think about Star Trek, and that's work. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there is still work and there's deadlines, and I'm sure it gets tough at times. But pretty nice way to spend a day thinking about other Star Trek stories.
Yeah,
I try to slap myself across the face at least once a week whenever I get it's so much work to do. I don't know how to figure out this story.
And Sarah, yeah, you've already said.
You slap yourself. I slap you.
You slap me. Yeah. No, it's the best. It's the greatest.
Oh man,
I try to be thankful for it every day.
And tell me about the Green Lantern crossover, because I loved the Planet of the Apes crossover, but the Green Lantern one I thought was a very interesting choice.
Yeah, so we had Volume 1 come out last year. Was it last year or this year?
I think it was last year.
Crossover?
Yeah.
Just last year. I wasn't sure if it leaked into this year. So we have Volume 2 coming out at the end of this year, which picks up where the last volume left off. And luckily, IDW and DC have been great and work really well together and been open to continuing the story. So it's not just like a one-off crossover where, that was funny, that was cute, and you never see it again. Now we actually get to show the fallout from what happened with both the Lanterns and the Starfleet crew and throw them into an even bigger mess this time. So it's sort of this new thing of like a series of crossovers. So knock on wood, we'll get to Volume 3 because I have a really cool idea I want to do, but that hasn't been proved yet. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and we're just really we're literally working on Volume 2 right now.
Very cool. I remember.
The support of Volume 1 was like crazy. So, and the way that Mike handled it, and the wonderful artist Angel Hernandez, it's almost like they've created an alternate universe where there are now lanterns in Starfleet. So what happens with that? So yes, that starts in December of this year.
That's fantastic. No, I remember too in the novels the X-Men Next Generation crossover, and thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. So, man, are you guys any chance you guys can talk to Marvel and make that happen as well? I love the DC stuff. Don't get me wrong, but
I'll never say never. It's nice, like the Star Trek licensors, like we said, they're so great and so supportive, but they're also maybe at our backs that it's fun to cross things over and it's fun to mash things up, but at the end of the day, there has to actually be authority, independent of just, wouldn't it be cool if that's just the beginning of the story? It really needs to go somewhere and have some sort of deeper meaning than that.
Although I will say, if I was going to... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. They definitely push us in a great way, so we're very lucky in that respect, too.
If I was going to do... for my last Star Trek story, I do think Star Trek Silver Surfer would be great so they can meet Galactus, and I can just go out on a high note.
Wow. I can only imagine exactly what does the Enterprise do when they face Galactus. That's very good, man.
Right? That would be it for me. I'd be like, okay, I got my Star Trek done. Of course Galactus wouldn't win. Spock would
outthink Galactus.
Absolutely.
Now you're just
Galactus. I want to. So the cover is Spock and Galactus playing 3D chess, right?
I'm making angry noises because I know he's just going to sit and write fanfic about this.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm going to sit. I'm not going to finish Green Lantern Volume 2. I'm going to finish Silver Surfer Star Trek Volume 1.
Oh, man.
And then we'll both get sued by Marvel and lose our job.
And then we'll get sued by Marvel. Are you listening, Marvel?
I got friends at Marvel. Don't worry. We'll talk to them. I think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Dr. Just to make me happy, Dr. Green Lantern is real.
No.
Coming on again.
Well, that's great. Well, you're right though. But you think of like that kind of sci-fi that Kirby was cooking up at the at the end of the '60s and the beginning of the '70s, and I wonder, because the next era of sci-fi after Star Trek really has its own kind of style and aesthetic, and it would be fun to see those kinds of ideas mashed up with Star Trek. So yeah, I mean, God, Space 1999, all that. It looked hokey then, but now you go back and look at it, and to me, it looks like '70s paperback novels come to life.
Yeah, and I think Star Trek has a natural ability to tell a lot of different types of stories. I mean, goodness knows, you watch the original series, and there are some goofy episodes, right?
Yeah.
And Wolf from the Fold, like, they really tried to do Jack the Ripper. It's incredible. But then there's very hard sci-fi episodes of the show. So I think it's even though it sounded crazy, sort of Green Lantern and Star Trek, they actually fit together. I found it not easy, but I found that they just fit together well. It felt like, these two could meet eventually.
I agree. Planet of the Apes worked. I think the Legion of Superheroes worked. I think Planet of the Apes worked.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and I do think that Star Trek allowed itself to kind of visit different universes and experience different forms of sci-fi. And I'm totally with you, man. So, no, good job. Keep doing the great stuff, guys. Honestly, I really do.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I've been meaning to have this conversation with reps like yourself from IDW for a long time, because I really think, like a lot of the franchises that IDW runs and stuff, you guys do a great job, and especially with the Star Trek stuff, it feels like Star Trek, and that's the really cool thing. Oh. So yeah, really, it's called, what's it called? Is it Waypoint? Is that the new one?
Waypoint is the anthology series.
Right.
Boldly Go is the new ongoing series set in Kelvin.
Right, that's Mike's. Yeah, Mike's Kelvin is Boldly Go, and Waypoint is the anthology series. No, I'm really excited. I'm a hardcore fan of the novels when they come up. I'm looking forward to some Christopher Pike stories in there, and actually, gotta get some more Robert April stories in there, man.
Yeah.
We'll
see. Well, they're telling the novels. Dayton Warren and Kevin Gilmore are writing a story in number 2 of Waypoint. It's basically a Gold Key homage. So, frankly, they're having too much fun with it. And the artist is Gordon Purcell, and I've just started getting the pages, and they look amazing. That's
fantastic. Gordon's a hell of a Star Trek artist as well. I'm glad you mentioned Gordon, because he never gets his due, and I think
it's a great way to also kind of honor the people that have worked on it before. I just really wanted to be kind of like looking forward while honoring the past at the same time.
That's excellent. Well, good luck this weekend at the New York Trek Convention. Will you guys be coming back in October for the regular New York Comic Con, or no?
I think I will. IDW definitely has.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not in stone yet, but I'm planning.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll see you guys then and get to meet you face to face. But truly, it'd be my pleasure. Congratulations and continued success with the franchise, and I look forward to being on the journey with you guys. So keep it up.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, John. Take care.
Okay, ever since the conversation now, I've been thinking about how great it will be if Mike Johnson gets to write a Marvel cosmic crossover with Star Trek. Can you imagine the possibilities? The Guardians of the Galaxy showing up, the Eternals, oh my God, just the original Guardians of the Galaxy. It would just be insane. And of course, the 3D chess match between Galactus and Mr. Spock. Why not? I am so for it. Make it happen, Marvel. Great talk with Sarah Gaydos and Mike Johnson. Really enjoyed talking to them. I hope to talk to them sooner than later in the future. I will see them in October at New York Comic Con. I am 90% certain I'm going. Just the smallest chance I won't be going. So hopefully I will see you there. I have missed the last 2 Javits Center experiences, and part of me doesn't mind that, But last year was radio problems. 2 years ago I had surgery, and it was just too close after having that surgery to immediately like rush to New York. I wasn't really up to it physically, but I am back, and I miss New York, and I would really love to see everybody there, both fans and also the amazing creators that live around New York, the old timers and the current crop as well. So I'm hoping to make that happen, and hope to see you there if you're going to New York Comic Con. And I know that IDW and Star Trek will be there, so I hope to see Sarah and Mike face to face and thank them for the great talk. And looking forward to talking to them again in the future, because I'm really psyched for IDW Star Trek products. That's no lie, folks. As I always like to say, if you hear somebody on Word Balloon, that means I like it. If you don't hear your favorite comic book represented on Word Balloon, two things are happening. Either I haven't gotten to those people yet, or frankly, not crazy about the book. That's what I do instead of reviews. I just kind of talk to the people I like. And maybe it sounds too much like a positive love fest. You know, how many great comic books are out there right now? How many times do you go to the store, and certainly at the prices that everything's at, and really have to make choices of, I'm going to follow this run, maybe I'll catch that run in trades. We're embarrassed with how many great comic books are out there. Why spend any time on books that suck? Why spend any time talking to creators that you don't like? So that's why it's always a positive experience here at Word Balloon. I think there's more to talk about other than, your book sucks and let me tell you why. And who would show up to for that kind of conversation? So instead we get great talks about the cool books and the fun books, which is what I try to provide here each week, and every now and then, more than once a week, here on Word Balloon. Man, I am telling you, the docket is full. The dance card is full, as my old sportscaster buddy Chet Kopic would say. So many people that I have committed to having conversations with before Cincy Comic-Con. After Cincy Comic-Con, we're going to have a ton of panels that I'll be doing there and presenting on Word Balloon, in addition to already arranged conversations in September with favorites coming back, newcomers as well, new subjects as well. It's a busy geek world out there. Man, I'll tell you, can you want to preview some names that have already been committed? Guys like Rick Remender, our buddy Joe Henderson, who's the showrunner of Lucifer on Fox. What a nice surprise that is, that's another great comic book television show, and that it's coming back for season 2. So it'll be great to pick Joe's brain. Hopefully Loeb will have time in the weeks ahead, probably closer to October time. But he is on the docket. Bendis is supposed to come back soon. I know we've been promising that pretty much all year. But, sometimes family plans and various things conspire against us. Really sorry to hear that Power Season 2 is going to be the last season, at least for now, of Powers. Who's, I suppose it may come back, but probably not. But the good news is, of course, Brian has got Scarlet brewing over at Cinemax and HBO, so we'll see what happens with that. But lots of great conversation in the weeks and days ahead. Today's Word Balloon brought to you by In Stock Trades at InStockTrades.com. Not only a great Star Trek product, but you can get things like from Brian Bendis, the Invincible Iron Man Premier Hardcover Volume 2, War Machines, 50% off, just $12.49. Jessica Jones, Avenger, the trade paperback is 50% off, $9.99. Those are two Bendis books. How about Superman, Lois and Clark, the prequel to the current run of Superman Rebirth, your pre-Flashpoint original Earth 1, that's the real guy Superman, the real Lois Lane, the two that actually got married, the two that actually had a baby, John Kent, is he John Clark? I can't remember what his name is, but his real name is John Kent, let's not kid ourselves. The new Boy of Steel, who is just kicking ass in Dan Jurgens and Pete Tomasi's books. Well, this is Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks, and it was a great 8-issue series. As I said, the best Superman book out there in the pre-Rebirth Superman universe. 50% off. It's just $8.99. The whole story of what happened after Lois and Clark come to the post-convergence Earth of DC and their secret struggles to keep their secret existence and also take care of their kid whose powers are suddenly starting to manifest. Tremendous book. How about He-Man and She-Ra? The complete guide to their classic animated adventures, all the wonderful adventures of Filmation. A great book. It's from Dark Horse. James Eatock is the writer, And the book is 45% off, $21.99. Kind of a companion piece to the Tim and Steve Seeley He-Man book from a year or two ago. There's Batgirl Volume 3, Mindfolds. That's Cameron Stewart and Brendan Fletcher and Babs Tarr. Great stuff. This book is 42% off, $9.85. Just some of the great deals that are happening at InStockTrades.com. Don't forget, your orders are 50%, or if your orders are $50 or more, you'll receive free shipping. It's a great value, great books, great prices. InStockTrades.com. One show note before I say goodbye. Had Emma Rios on a couple days ago, and accidentally said that Cameron Stewart was the co-editor of the Island anthology that comes out with Image, that Emma actually co-edits with Brandon Graham, another fine Canadian. Massive apologies, Brandon, and it took a couple days to fix the blog post. When Emma immediately identified the mistake, there's a time gap because Emma's in Spain, so it took a few hours to re-edit my intro and properly credit Brandon on the podcast, but I did take care of that. However, a couple thousand downloads had happened already, so apologies for the mistake to Brandon, and I meant no disrespect. I sometimes do this stuff, at the end of the night or the beginning of the morning where my brain is less than completely clear, and sometimes I have a brain fart, and I did that on that episode. So huge apologies to both Emma and Brandon. And I'm glad that I have fixed that mistake, and both were very cool and gracious, and I thank them for that. A great book, certainly worth your attention, and a great conversation with Emma if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, now with a corrected introduction, but that didn't change. Emma certainly had her facts right, so that was a wonderful conversation. More great stuff coming up next week even. Right after Labor Day, expect a new episode of Word Balloon, and who knows what this Labor Day weekend might involved, because, as I said, I've got commitments, at least, intent to talk soon, and one or two conversations may actually happen this Labor Day weekend. Have a great time. Be safe. Enjoy yourself as we head into these last weeks of summer. Enjoy the weather. I know football is back. Don't waste a good day outside sitting inside watching football. I love football, too, but I'm a big believer in football in October. I hate September football. So I don't mind that it's back, but I just wish, it's like, let's get to cooler weather. At least, jacket weather before we're talking about football. You know what I mean? I think you do. So have fun. We'll talk to you soon. Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions. Copyright 2016.